Hello, BookTube. I have neglected Poetry Thursday, fugitive little BookTube tradition in which we read and discuss a poem on Thursday. Every time I watch the tiny handful of booktubers who still maintain the tradition, I feel ashamed. I wish that tiny handful of booktubers would do a little bit more discussing. Usually people consider that they have clocked in and out for Poetry Thursday if they merely read a poem. But reading a poem is better than nothing at all. Of course, you're not going to get free of discussion from me. So I'm going to read a poem today and talk about it a bit. It's from this anthology. This is the new poetry from the turn of the 20th century that half a century later someone put a JFK book jacket on in school. They obviously had this book they were using in school. And I can't get enough of this anthology. I got it for free at a little free library. I can't get enough of it. So we're going to go back to Helen Hoyt for today's poem, and today's poem is Rain at Night. And I admit, I chose it because last night, a powerful rainstorm swept through Boston. It got cloudier and cloudier all afternoon, then right around sunset, so after the sun had set, but there was still a gloaming in the air, suddenly there were pinpricks in the air. Suddenly the air was no longer completely air. There were pinpricks of water, pinpricks of precipitation, but you couldn't see it. It wasn't even wetting the ground. And it gradually grew greater and greater. And just when I thought that it was at its peak, it doubled into just an unbelievable bucketing down downpour. It was pretty interesting. It was pretty neat. I long in weather like that. I longed last night. I long to go out in it, especially if it happens at night. Go to the woods, go to the forest, and walk around in that weather. It is amazingly beautiful to walk around in, even on a sidewalk, it would be. But out in nature, I'm only a few minutes away in 3 different directions from tracks of nature. But it's been a long time since I had a dog who would go with me in such circumstances. I had some beagles who were up for anything. They were game for anything. And there was a wonderful time when I was a visitor for quite some time at a stately old home in England, where the owner had an entire kennel full of English Springer Spaniels. And they were up for anything. They were up for anything at all. But most of my dogs, no. The current one that I have, absolutely not. Absolutely not. So I just had to enjoy it vicariously. And we're going to get a little bit of that in this poem. This is Rain at Night. Are you awake? Do you hear the rain? How rushingly it strikes upon the ground and on the roof and the wet window pane. Sometimes I think it is a comfortable sound, making us feel how safe and snug we are, closing us off in this dark, away from the dark outside. The rest of the world seems dim tonight, mysterious and far. Oh, there is no world left, only darkness stretching wide and full of the blind rain's immeasurable fall. How nothing we must seem unto this ancient thing, how nothing unto the earth, and we so small. Oh, wake, wake, do you not feel my hands cling? One day it will be raining as it rains tonight, the same wind blow, raining and blowing on this house wherein we live. But you and I, we shall not hear, we shall not ever know. Oh, love, I had forgot we must die. So, Helen Hoyt, bit of a downer at the end there, but the idea is a fantastic one. I don't agree completely with the personalization, referring to rain as this ancient thing. It's a meteorological phenomenon. It doesn't know you're there. It doesn't know anything. But the poem opens up just a doorway to the realization, the absolute fact, that these kinds of things have been going on long before we all got here, and they'll be going on long after we're gone. I've often thought about this. I've often thought about it in connection with the reflections of a NASA scientist who was giving an interview decades ago about an Earth probe that was getting close to the planet Jupiter, one of the most advanced probes ever to get close to the biggest planet in the solar system, that is the home of storms that rage with a longevity and a ferocity that is hard to imagine. It's hard to imagine the storms of Jupiter. And this NASA scientist said, yeah, it's hard to imagine their ferocity, and also it's hard to imagine that they're even real. Isn't there an element of a storm that's missing if there's never been anyone around to even know that it's a storm, to even know that it's there? If a tree falls in a forest, does anyone? Does it make a sound? But also, is it real, or is it just is it just a fallen tree when we find it and make a narrative out of it? I thought about that a lot in terms of Earth. I thought about vast groups of animals that have been extinct for millions or even billions of years, huddling on a shore while a hurricane blows through, seeking shelter when a hurricane blows through. Those storms have been sweeping the surface of Earth for who knows how long. And we weren't there. We weren't there to know about them. We weren't there to listen to Matthew Capucci's warnings about whether or not they were going to be really bad. They just happened anyway. And long before there was life, I presume, they happened when there was no life at all. Just the way the storms on Jupiter do. They just lash away. They're just a mindless thing. I confess, last night when the rain was pounding on the window, it wasn't pattering on the window pane, it was pounding the house for a while, for about half an hour. It was a downpour like I've heard seldom in this country when it wasn't a hurricane. And I confess that during that storm, I was not thinking, someday this will be pouring rain on this house and I won't be here to see it. I wasn't quite the downer that Helen Hoyt is, but I have thought of that in the past. And it's a lovely kind of poem too. I don't know if you noticed the rhyme scheme that we have there, but it's rain, ground, pain, sound, are, outside, far, wide, and fall. Thing, small, cling, blow, know, and then die at the end. And the single line for die at the end. Very good. Very adult sing-songy. Anyway, that's your poem for today, for Poetry Thursday. Long may it go. I will try to remember for next Thursday. I'll wrap this up for now. I will see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.